now we will be dealing with what a product life cycle is, or we will get more into the software development life cycle process. Okay, software development process. So before that, we need to know what does it mean by a product life cycle. Okay, so product life cycle in the sense, from the conceptual phase, like say when the idea of a product comes into being, then we move into requirements, and then like that stage by stage, you finally develop the application. So that set of collection of those things, or the interrelated activities is known as a product life cycle. Okay, so there are actually many different life cycle models, which different companies follow, different people follow, based on how their manner of approach. Okay, so each of these models, they have their own advantages and they have their own disadvantages. So naturally, there are supporters for each model. There are people who criticize each model, but each of these models are advantages in the way in which, see, how the type of product or the type of application that is intended to. Okay, so that is what a product life cycle is. So different life cycle models. Now, what does a life cycle means? It is actually, breaking up the development process into a series of interrelated activities. Okay, like say you have your conceptual phase, then you have the design phase. We will go into details of all these. Now, each of these activities, they have a role. Means they play a very important role. Like say they are connected. Okay, that is you are going from your specification and going into delivering a final product. So each of these input, they play a very significant role. They are actually interrelated. They transform the input, or what is the specification, into the required solution, that is the output. Okay, so these organization of the steps according to a design process model is known as a life cycle model. Okay, so we have to find out what the customer needs. Okay, so basically the main area of focus is the customer. Okay, so first what you have to do is you have to find out what is the requirement of the customer. So for that, maybe you can give a survey to a group of people, or else you as a person, you might have experienced certain problems. So you will see, okay, these are my requirements. So that is one way in which you can find out customer requirements. Okay, then once you finalize the customer requirements, you will understand, okay, this is what is required. Okay, I will, then now what I'm going to do is I have to think about a way how to give them back. Okay, think about a way how to give them what they want, or how to solve the problem. Okay, that you will be sitting in a group, and you will be forming the specifications, the block diagram, the design, all these things. Okay, so once the design is done, what you're going to do, you're going to prove what you have done. Okay, that is, proof is in the sense you are verifying it. Okay, it is going to satisfy the customer. Okay, so you are going to prove it by building a prototype and testing it. Okay, then once that prototype is working fine, okay, you have to build a lot of that. Okay, to prove it wasn't an accident. That is the same reliable product. You have to manufacture it bulk, in a bulk amount, and you have to make it available to the consumers. Okay, so build a lot of them to prove that it wasn't an accident. Okay, now once that product comes to the market, that product will be used to solve the customer's problem. Okay, so these are the 5 things that we have to keep in mind. Find out, think of a way, prove what you have done, build a lot of them, and use the product to solve. Okay, now these related activities or the steps are given in the image below. Okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different phases. First one is a concept phase. Second is a definition phase. Third, development. Fourth, ramp up. And fifth is the commercialization. Okay, so in the concept phase, you are finding out what the customer requires and you capture the concept. Okay, so in the definition phase, once the concept is captured, you are going to define it clearly. Okay, these are the specifications that you clearly require, and this is how you are going to do. Okay, so your team members may be giving you different approaches. Okay, this is a technology that we can use. Another person will be say, okay, that has a disadvantage. Okay, we will be doing this. You might have studied the brainstorming sessions and all, which you have encountered in a design engineering subject while you studied in your first year. Okay, so during that definition phase, the particular concept is given a clear definition. Okay, and this is the approach that we are going to uh, develop it. Okay. Third is a development phase where the what where the design is approved and you are designing it. Okay. So once you design it, you will have to verify it, the proof. So you will go for the ramp up phase where the validation and iteration is done. You will do different steps. You will give different environments in which it is going to work, different inputs. Okay, all these conditions, the temperature conditions, the roughness, all these things. Okay. So validation and iteration is done. And once the validation iteration is done of the prototype, the if it is working very fine, it is approved for launch. Okay. The launch in the sense you build a lot of them and use the product to solve the customer's problem. So you will build a lot of them and it will come to the market, and that is the commercialization phase. Okay. So in the commercialization phase, what happens is that if the product is very new, you will have maybe one person buying it just to give it a try. And once he is satisfied, he may give it as a communication to others. Okay, this is a very good product. Okay, likewise, your product will come into publicity, and then after some time, you will have a rise in sales. Okay, if your product is reliable. So you can see a curve there. You can see a graph type there, which is known as a hockey stick sales curve, which indicates, initially you will have a very minimum sales. After that, if your product is reliable, then a gradual increase, which looks like a hockey stick. So that is known as a hockey stick sales curve. Okay, this hockey stick sales curve is represented in many different criterias, but here also for sales also you represent it like this. Okay. Okay. So there are different models which is followed by different companies. We will go through three different types of models. First one is a waterfall model. Second is a V model. And third one is a spiral model. Okay. All these have different types of approaches and different advantages and different disadvantages. So the application will be different. Okay. So first coming to the waterfall model. Waterfall model, actually, it is a linear model. Okay. Linear model in the sense, if you can see, it goes in one direction. Okay. There is no way going back unless and until this it has completed fully and you have to start again. That is the main disadvantage of this particular waterfall model. Okay. So first you have a requirement. Okay. Once the requirement is done, now requirement is a key aspect. Okay. That is, you gather the requirements of the customer at the beginning of the project. Now each phases need to be planned until the product is complete. Okay. It is assumed that all requirements can be gathered at this phase. Okay. Clear. So based on the requirement, you will go into the design phase. Okay. In the design phase, what is done? Design phase, you have the logical design. Okay. Logical design in the sense conceptual design and the physical design part. Okay. Physical design part where the idea is made into concrete specification. Okay. You will have, okay, fix it. This is what we are going to do. Okay. So this design phase is finalized by, brainstorming and theories that we have told before. Okay. Where people discuss solutions to this particular problem. Okay. Then you have the implementation. Now in the implementation phase, you will have maybe programmers who will bring together the requirements and specification from the previous phase, and they try to program it. They do the coding and also the hardware part. Okay. Now once the verification implementation is done, go for the verification. Okay. So verification. The verification. What we do. testing. Then once the app is delivered, very quick. That's then then paperwork. Then uh, enter the bugs and all. And like application. As the really trying to and also not have then depths are almost same. You have a left side, left arm, type structure on the upper part of then main design into and we next stage we will code each module testing. Once you do the thing, if it is working fine, integrate it and see if it is working. Whether the high level architecture satisfies. That is working fine. Go for system testing. Whether the system is working. Add a system design, add a concept approach. Satisfying that, you will final prototype. There you will match it with requirements. Okay. Testing is fine. If the unit testing is here, go for the detail because there was a failure, and you will revise the design and you will come. Okay. Now, if the integration testing is fine, failure, it means that the high-level architecture design which we have done was not up to the mark. We will go then. Next, if the system testing is a failure, that understood from the requirement and what you finalized was not that here. So what you do is you will modify the system design. Come down. Next, finally, once the prototype is done, the prototype is now working. That way you analyze the requirement, changing your and here also not that rigid as your waterfall model, but still you'll take and backing almost similar to your. Here also you require well-defined product definition, application, and also save well for an easy to understand. Not like your what identity, and they are clearly so the disadvantages. Once in the applications, so there. Next, coming to the spiral model, was for a spiral. Now, in this type of the type, because objects are tend to change, data changes. So So are all same, but type of approach. What they do is they determine the objectives and alternatives, right, and resolve the risks. Then uh, for the risk, you find out the alternative, and also you will see if you are able to win. If at all another risk comes, you will plan the next iteration and so you can see there is a starting. At the start, we have a very minimal product. So once you start with the product, you understand the requirement, you plan the plan what is to be done, analyze what come. Okay, so see what is the first type of labor, and we will evaluate the alternatives first to reduce. So once that is done, prototype one is dead and that concept is placed. Okay. But at that particular time, you may see that your client comes and say, this or I'm not satisfied with it. Can you change it? So you have another risk. You will expand your, have to analyze your deployment plan, verify it. Now your risk has increased more because you have more. You have to change your feature. So you have to go for the next prototype, simulate it again, verify it with the client. The same way you will go on like that. Once finally your risk is completely okay. Okay, then you have an operation. Now, once that operational prototype does not require any final modification, okay, go for hence you will have a standard. Yeah. So our spiral model tends to accommodate gap for you can see to analyze the cost. That often time is more. Take the radius of the application where you know that uh, it has an idea, but when we actually try to implement